When my husband went pale and whispered, "Turn around now," I had no idea it would forever change how I view my own parents. Dear viewers, let me know in the comments what country you're watching from. Enjoy the story. My name is Julia, and what I saw in the trunk of our car that day made me realize sometimes the people closest to you are willing to sacrifice you for their own gain. The plan was painfully simple. Load the car early in the morning, pack up the kids, Emma, 5, Liam, 7, and Noah, 10, and drive 3 hours to the Canadian border for a family reunion with my parents, Richard and Susan Miller, a typical family event with obligatory hugs, potato salad, and feigned interest in distant relatives' lives. I was driving, as usual. My husband, Michael, has a pathological fear of being a passenger, and I get motion sickness, one of the many talents nature gifted me. The kids were half dozing in the back, half watching cartoons, bickering over invisible lines between their seats. All three in matching travel pillows, a little chaos in a neat package. Everything was fine. Not magical, not awful, just fine. Until Michael said those words, "Turn around, right now." At first, I didn't take it seriously. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but something in his voice, "Why?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just stared straight ahead, then repeated, "Please, just turn around." That's when I knew. This wasn't a joke. Michael isn't the panicking type. His default settings are calm, calmer, and occasionally exhausted. I've seen him handle a kitchen fire with less tension. So I took the last exit before the border. The road curved gently, like it was offering me a second chance. As soon as we left the highway, his body relaxed. Not fully, but enough to make it clear. He'd been bracing for something bad. "Okay," I said. "Now will you tell me what's going on?" He shook his head. "Just drive." "Where?" "I don't know, anywhere but there." The kids started to notice. "Are we going the wrong way?" Liam asked. "We forgot something," I said automatically. "What?" Emma lifted her head. "I'll tell you later." Noah, the youngest, piped up. "Is it the snacks?" I didn't answer. Michael stayed silent for a long time. We drove in silence for 20 minutes, maybe more. Just miles of trees and guilt pressing on my neck. Then he said, "Take the next exit." The road led nowhere. A narrow service path with no signs, no purpose. One of those places you only find when you're lost. I stopped. He unbuckled his seatbelt. "Stay here." He got out and went to the trunk. I couldn't see anything from the driver's seat, so I just sat and waited. My hands were sweating. My heart was beating oddly, fast and heavy, like it knew something I didn't. A minute later, the trunk closed. He came to my window. "Can you come out? Why? I need you to see this." He didn't sound angry or scared, just tired and very, very certain. I got out. He led me to the trunk and opened it. He didn't say anything, just pointed. I looked and forgot how to breathe. There was no fear. Not yet. Fear was still on its way. What I felt in that moment was slower, heavier, like falling through the floor of my own life. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I just knew. We were one wrong choice away from losing everything. Funny thing is, I always thought I was the responsible one in the family. Not just in the pay taxes and wear sunscreen way, though that too, but in the sense that I thought I could be steady, the one who doesn't blow up, doesn't disappear, doesn't lie for sport, the one who tries, the one who offers help when I can afford it and boundaries when I can't. But looking back, I realized being responsible in my family was like being the sober driver in a demolition derby. They didn't need help, they needed cover. And I gave it to them for years. It started when I was a kid. My parents, Richard and Susan, believed living well was about image, not money. Image. If you looked successful, if you seemed generous, if your Christmas lights hung straight and your fridge had 5 kinds of mustard, you were fine. Never mind that the credit cards were maxed or the gas got shut off in winter. We're fine. That was the script. Stick to it or you'd be rewritten. There were lean years. I remember cereal for dinner and one parent suddenly working late almost every night. Later, I realized it was code for, "We don't want you to know we can't afford this or that." But there were also years when they had money. New car, new TV, new patio furniture nobody used. Money came and went like weather. The spending stayed constant. Once, I asked Dad why we didn't save more when things were good. You don't need to save if you know how to hustle, he said. I was 8. My sister Chelsea inherited it all. The hustle, the shine, the gravitational pull of someone who could light up a room while quietly unplugging your self-respect. She was the favorite. It wasn't a secret, not even a dirty secret, just a fact. They loved her more. They understood her. She was like them. I wasn't. I was boring. That's what they called me, sometimes to my face. Boring, uptight, too serious. Mom once told me, mid-Thanksgiving dinner, that my problem was I confused discipline with personality. And you know what? I believed them. Because when you grow up in a house like that, you start thinking the only way to earn love is to stay useful, stay clean, stay reasonable. So that's what I did. I became responsible. They called when they needed help with insurance claims or school applications, or when Chelsea lost another job and someone had to patch the hole. I gave what I could. Not too much, just enough to keep things from falling apart. Just enough to not be the bad guy. Even when they hurt me, even when every no was framed as selfishness, I still gave. Because they were my parents. Because it felt easier than the alternative. Then everything changed. It was about 4 months before the trip. Chelsea's son, my nephew Ethan, was struggling in school. He was being bullied, they said. He didn't fit in, was anxious, withdrawn. They had him evaluated and some therapist recommended a smaller setting. They found a private school, very prestigious, very expensive, and, in their words, life-changing. They couldn't afford it, obviously, but they'd secured a conditional acceptance if they could make a deposit. They just needed a little help just to lock in the spot. They'd pay it back, of course. My stomach dropped the second those words left their mouths. It wasn't that I didn't care. I did. That was the problem. I liked that kid. I wanted good things for him. But I also knew the pattern. I knew how it started and how it ended. I said no. I said it softly, like you'd say to someone holding a glass knife. I can't pay for private school. I have 3 kids of my own. We don't go to private schools. I'm sorry. They didn't yell. They just went quiet. Cold. Mom said, of course. I forgot. You have rules. And we didn't talk for a while. Until the family reunion came up. Suddenly, everything was cheerful again. They were thrilled to see us. They'd worked everything out, the school, the reunion, the trip. It was all coming together. I didn't ask how. Told myself it wasn't my business. They asked if we could take an extra bag in our car. Theirs was full, and we had an SUV. Sure, I said, just let me know. That was a few days before the trip. The morning we left, as we were packing, Dad handed me a red duffel bag. Doesn't fit in ours, he said. Just this one. I took it without thinking, tossed it in with our stuff, the kids' backpacks and a cooler with juice boxes. I didn't unzip it, didn't wonder why they were suddenly so relaxed, didn't stop to ask why people who struggled to pay for school, groceries, gas, and who blamed me for not helping, were suddenly fine. They were smiling when we pulled out of their driveway, waving like they didn't have a care in the world. And I remember thinking for a second, they look really happy. I didn't dwell on it at the time. Just another bag, just another trip, just another family mess I didn't want to wade into. Maybe I should have asked more questions. Maybe I was too naive. I need you to see this, he said. I got out. He led me to the trunk and opened it. He didn't say anything, just unzipped the red bag and pulled back a hoodie, and everything stopped. Inside, stuffed between clothes, shoved into what looked like a kid's makeup bag sealed in plastic, were packets. Not one, not particularly well hidden, just there, under layers that wouldn't fool anyone doing their job for more than 5 seconds. I stared. Not fully understanding, then understanding all at once. Not medicine, not vitamins, not something with a purpose that didn't involve handcuffs, lawyers, or newspaper headlines. I didn't speak. I couldn't. Every muscle in my chest locked up. It was like drowning in slow motion. He didn't say, look what they did. He didn't say, this is what I thought. He just zipped the bag back up and let the silence finish the sentence. I took a step back. Gravel crunched under my shoes like it was happening somewhere else, like it wasn't tied to anything real. Then, "They put that in our car," I said finally. My voice was thin. "They put that in our car," he nodded. "With the kids," I added. Another nod. I looked up at the sky for some reason. It was still blue. Still looked like a nice day. I hated it. It felt wrong, like the sky hadn't gotten the memo. "How did you know?" I asked. He didn't answer right away, just stared at the closed trunk like it could still be open in his mind. "When they gave us the bag," he said eventually. Something about their eyes, the way they smiled, like it was already done, like they were sure it would work. He shrugged, then shook his head like he was trying to shake the memory loose. I couldn't stop thinking about it the whole drive. Then right before the border, it hit me. He looked at me. I didn't know, but I knew, and that was worse. That someone else saw what I'd taught myself not to see. I turned slowly, walked back to the driver's seat, got in, closed the door, and sat for a minute, letting the heat seep through the windshield while my hand shook. Then I started the car and drove. The kids didn't ask this time. They were deep in some cartoon. They'd forgotten about Canada, Aunt Karen, cousins, and the little goodie bags I'd secretly packed for the reunion. We drove for a while. Highway, side roads, aimlessly. My phone started buzzing. First Mom, then Dad, then again and again. I didn't answer. Michael didn't either. We didn't need to. We already knew what they'd say. "Dot, where are you? What happened? Are you okay? Where's the bag?" We didn't respond, just kept driving, the screen lighting up every few minutes like a tiny alarm dot. Eventually, we turned toward their house. It was almost automatic, like we were on rails. We didn't talk about it. We both just knew what had to happen. I pulled into their driveway and parked. The porch light was still on from the night before, though it was noon. Dot. He got out first, went to the trunk. I followed Dot. We didn't say anything. I found the key in the same place it always was, taped to the back of a fake rock Dad bought from a catalog that also sold deer whistles and solar-powered frogs. Dot, he opened the front door. We walked inside. Dot, the air smelled like old coffee and carpet cleaner. Dot. We set the red bag just inside the hallway. Didn't open it, didn't adjust it, just placed it there. Like a quiet bomb that didn't need to explode to ruin everything. Dot. He turned the lock, securing it behind us. We got back in the car, still silent. I think we both felt that speaking would taint something. Dot, later that day, after we got home, after the kids were in bed and the house was quiet, I answered the phone. Dot, it was Mom. Her voice was bright, fake, like this was a call about cupcakes. "Oh, honey, we were so worried. We didn't know what happened. You just vanished." I didn't say anything. "Is everything okay?" Still nothing. "Where's the bag?" I let that hang for a second, then said, "We left it at your house." A pause. "If it was that important," I added, "maybe you should have carried it yourselves." Her voice didn't change, but I heard it. The hitch. That flash of realization that told me she knew exactly what I meant, and that I knew exactly what she'd done. Dot, she didn't say anything. Neither did I. Dot. Then I said, "We're done. Don't call again." I hung up. Dot. That was it. No yelling, no final speech, just a line drawn and a door closed. And that should have been the end, but it wasn't. Not yet. Dot, though, they showed up on Wednesday. No warning, no text, just a doorbell ring, like they were dropping off cupcakes instead of guilt. I knew it was them before I checked. There's a certain pressure that comes through a front door, like a bad smell or static electricity, especially when it's people who think they've done nothing wrong. I opened the door just enough to step outside and closed it firmly behind me. Dot. My parents stood there, like they hadn't just tried to blow up my life with a smile in a duffel bag. Dot, Mom gave me a tight, practiced grin, the kind that's supposed to look warm but doesn't reach the eyes. "We wanted to check in," she said, like we were in a group chat and I'd just missed a brunch invite. Dot, Dad added, "Thought we could clear things up." I didn't say anything, just crossed my arms and waited. Mom hesitated, then said, "We didn't know how much you understood." There it was, the admission. They knew, I knew. They just didn't know how much I'd let myself believe. I tilted my head. "You mean the bag?" Neither of them answered, which was answer enough. "You put it in our trunk," I said, "with your grandkids in the back seat." Mom swallowed. "We didn't think it would be a big deal." "It wasn't supposed to be anything," Dad said, trying to keep his voice even. "Just something to help with debts, that's all." "We were desperate," Mom added. "You didn't want to help." There it was again. The fallback excuse, the catch-all defense. You didn't want to help. Like their betrayal was just a natural response to my lack of generosity. Like their actions were my fault. I didn't yell, I didn't cry. "You didn't just betray me," I said. "You put our lives at risk." Neither of them spoke. "You risked your daughter, your son-in-law, your grandkids." Dad shifted his weight. Mom blinked, like she was trying to cry but couldn't summon the tears. "We're done," I said. "Don't call. Don't come here. You won't see the kids. This is over." She opened her mouth. I could already hear the classic lines forming. "You're being dramatic." Or maybe, "You'll come around." Instead, she just said, "You'll come back. You always do." I turned, walked back inside, and locked the door. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't wonder if she was right. 3 days later, I went to pick up the kids from school. They weren't there. My stomach dropped so fast I couldn't speak. I just stared at the teacher like she'd told me my house was on fire. "Oh, they've already been picked up," she said, like it was the most normal thing in the world. "Your parents said you asked them to." I don't remember driving. I remember being in the car, and I remember the sound of the engine, but nothing in between. They were at my parents' house. Of course, they were inside comma. It looked like a birthday party had exploded. Toys, candy, balloons, a whole Lego set that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. The kids were glowing, high on sugar, clutching new things and laughing like it was Disneyland. My parents acted like it was all normal. Mom was cutting cake. Dad was on the floor assembling something that beeped. It was surreal. Like walking into a parallel universe where they were the kind of grandparents who cared more about giving than taking only. They weren't. And this wasn't love. It was strategy, an emotional bribe, affection weaponized. They'd never spoiled the kids before. Not like this. Never. But suddenly, after we cut them off, Santa Claus showed up with a debit card. I stood there for a second, trying to remember what it felt like to give someone the benefit of the doubt. I couldn't. "We're leaving," I said. The kids whined. "But why?" Emma asked. "Grandma said." Liam started. "We're leaving now." They didn't understand. Of course they didn't. How could they? They were being told yes by people who'd spent a lifetime saying no. And they liked it. It was easy to like. "Can we keep the toys?" one of them asked, clutching a teddy bear like it held the answers. I hesitated for a second, then said yes, because taking the toys would have made me the villain, and I wasn't going to give my parents that win. As we headed to the door, Mom called after me, sing-song and soft, "They'll come back to us. They always do." She said it like a fact. She said it like a promise. She said it like she still thought she could win. That night. I didn't wait for some magical sign or emotional breakdown. I just sat on the bed, looked at Michael and said, "We need to leave." He didn't ask why. He didn't need to. "I don't want them near the kids," I continued. "Not at school, not at the grocery store, not across the street pretending to be harmless." He nodded slowly like he was already halfway to the same place. "You mentioned North Carolina before," I said. "Your company has an office there. Your parents live there. I wasn't ready then. I'm ready now." He nodded again. "The transfer's still on the table." "Okay," I said, "let's take it. No drama, no hesitation, just a quiet decision to burn the bridge and never look back." I didn't need revenge. I needed distance and a clean start somewhere they couldn't reach us. A few months later, we were in North Carolina. The The mountains were beautiful. The air smelled like pine and new beginnings. The kids were in new schools. Michael's parents, warm, grounded, no-drama people, lived 20 minutes away and actually wanted to help Dot. We didn't tell anyone where we went. Blocked numbers, vanished, and not in the dramatic run-off-to-find-yourself way, but in the we-deserve-peace way. One day, my phone rang from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Listened later. A cousin I barely talked to. "Hey, your mom says she doesn't know where you are. She's really upset. Says you just cut contact. I don't know what's going on, but family's important." I deleted the message without calling back, without explaining, because by then the only thing that mattered was this. We were safe. We were free. We didn't disappear. We escaped. About 6 months passed. New state, new school, new routines. I was almost used to not checking my phone in fear. The silence wasn't comfortable yet, but it wasn't terrifying anymore. Just calm. Then I got an email from Chelsea. Subject: Emergency, please read. I stared at it for a long time, thought about deleting it unread, thought about marking it as spam. Instead, I opened it. The email was long, frantic, poorly punctuated. The gist: our parents were arrested, again. This time, not for being stupid, though that was still part of it, but for actually doing what they almost got us arrested for. They tried to smuggle something across the border themselves. No middlemen, no family scapegoats, just a trunk full of product, and 2 people in their 60s who still thought rules were suggestions. They got caught. Obviously, the email ended with a plea. They need help. They need money for a lawyer. This is serious. You have to put the past aside and show up. Your family. I read that line 3 times. Then hit reply. All I wrote: I showed up once. I'm not doing it again. And I meant it. I didn't hear anything for a while, didn't need to. But eventually, word got back to me, as it always does. Cousins talk. Family trees have rot, but the roots run deep. They were charged with possession with intent to distribute and attempting to cross an international border with controlled substances. A few pounds, enough for intent, not enough for headlines. They took a plea deal, 4 years each. Not life-altering, but not nothing. Enough time to sit with what they did, if they're capable of that, which I honestly doubt. The part of me that used to flinch when people mentioned second chances is quiet now. We have a life here. It's not perfect, but it's ours. The kids laugh more. Michael sleeps better. And I haven't had to translate guilt into silence in a long time. For the rest, I don't regret the boundary. Not for a second. Emma asked me recently why we don't see Grandma and Grandpa Miller anymore. I told her the truth. 8-year-old version. Sometimes people make choices that hurt other people, and when that happens, it's okay to stay away to keep yourself safe. She nodded, like it made sense. And you know what? It did. Noah mentions the toys they bought that last day sometimes. Not with longing, just as a memory. Remember that bear Grandma gave me? I say yes, and we move on. Liam, always the observant one, said once, I like it here better, it's quieter. Out of the mouths of babes. Michael got a promotion at work. We bought a house with a big backyard where the kids can play without worrying who might drive by. We have neighbors who lend sugar and don't ask for pieces of your soul. In return. His parents, Robert and Mary, come over for dinner on Sundays. They bring dessert and leave when the kids start getting tired. They don't ask questions about my family. They don't offer advice about forgiveness. They just show up in a healthy way. It took time to get used to that, to people who mean what they say, to boundaries that are respected, to love that doesn't come with strings. Sometimes I catch myself waiting for the other shoe to drop. Old habits. But days go by and nothing explodes. No one calls me selfish for not giving what I don't have. No one uses my guilt as leverage. It's just peace. A's. For my parents, Richard and Susan Miller, serving time in federal prison for the choices they made, I don't think about them every day or every week. Sometimes months go by, and I realize I haven't thought of them at all. And that's okay. Dot, because for the first time in my life, I'm not living in reaction to their chaos. I'm living in response to my family's needs, my kids' needs, my own. That's how it should be, Dot. So tell me, did I go too far or not far enough? Let me know in the comments. And if you're new here, hit subscribe.